Happy Friday. Hey, this is Craig Modelmog with the week of October 23rd. Today is Friday. Wall Street X's and O's. Welcome. For all of you that this is your first time watching this fabulous show, this is uncut and unedited. And as I always say, it won't take long for you to realize that it's legit. That is the facts. It is uncut and unedited because sometimes it's just bad. My phone rings. I forget to say stuff. I cuss on occasion, not often, because my mom and my wife really discourage that. Tanya, Mom, I'm really going to work on that today. Anyway, no, hey, we got a good show today. But before I kick things off, we're going to hit the normal disclaimer. The thoughts and opinions on this show are mine. None of these opinions and thoughts are a solicitation or to buy and or sell any type of investment. Investments can and will lose money, and they are not FDIC insured. So without further ado, we're going to kick things off here. We're obviously going to hit on the unemployment numbers because that's a big part of the catalyst that is causing some interesting things in the economy. There are three things that you are really not supposed to discuss with people: religion, politics, and COVID. I have added that. I'm hitting two of those three today. I know, scary, huh? And then the last one, I am going to discuss the number one question that I've been answering this week. And I've got some good comments on that. But to kick things off here, unemployment's still pretty wicked. It's not good. Initial claims this week dropped by 55,000, if my math is right, to 787,000 unemployment applicants for the week. Our PEUC claims, now again, this is Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation. This was a result of the CARES Act. This has been going on now for several weeks. It's up again for the fourth week in a row. So this week we tipped the scales at 3.296 million PEUC claims, which that is not encouraging. Okay, so that means if you add those to the initial claims for the week, it's over 4 million. It's a lot. Continuing jobless claims did drop from 9.379 to this week to 8.373. But you got to remember, after 26 weeks, you start seeing people falling off of the scale. So that is something that's definitely happening. I read an article this week where they are estimating, or this is a guesstimate, that 3.5 to 3.75 million jobs are lost, meaning people that lost their job, they're due to being furloughed or whatever the case may be. That job now is gone. And there are many that are predicting that will double here over the coming months, which is just ugly. Okay. Total unemployment benefits for the week did drop again from 24.197 million to 23.15. So, I mean, it dropped a million and change, but we still have 23 million people on some form of unemployment benefit. And that's just terrible. That's just not good enough. Moving on here, we're going to talk COVID now. See, we're getting dicey now. I'm like all fired up because we're going to start talking smack on stuff out there. This is just stats. This is not emotional. I think COVID is the worst thing on the planet. I think COVID is BS. This is just facts. So you take these for what they're worth. The R not seen, here's my phone ringing here right now. I don't know who that is. So they are going to have to wait. I will call them later. If you happen to be watching this and that was you calling at 3:19, I apologize. I will call you back. But anyway, the R not score, which is the transmission rate of COVID-19, now is above 1. And if you remember back when all the poop hit the fan in March, April, that was the number that everyone was focusing on, was this transmission rate. Well, it is now above 1 in 46 of the 50 states. The positive test rate in the U.S. is also sitting just a hair above 5%, which is also a bad thing, and is also a double since last month. So it is happening. Whether you think it is or not, again, that's not the issue here. The issue is let's focus on the facts, okay? Global positivity continues to rise. What we're seeing in Europe is they're really struggling. UK, Spain, France, Italy, Germany are all hitting their daily highs in excess of what they saw in March and April. So I kind of find it interesting, and I'm not going to take a political shot here, but it kind of is a political shot. How everyone is blaming Trump for what happened. You need to blame the whole freaking world, okay? Because no one has had success outside of China. You know, that's interesting. Which, to me, what can you believe out of China? Probably not much. So, China's the only place that really hasn't had a serious issue, as well as other parts of Asia. What are those parts of Asia? South Korea, Singapore, Taiwan. What do? Wearing a mask is part of the culture now. Culturally, they do things for the social best interests of their people. In the U.S., we're just not there yet. I think we're probably developing that, but it's getting better. Anyway, moving on, the debate. Hey, who watched it? It wasn't a circus like the first one. It was okay. I mean, for debate's sake, it was okay. What I have found interesting is 49 million people have voted early. That's interesting, which is up 600% versus 2016. That's an interesting number. And already 36% of the votes that were cast in 2016. So lots of people are voting. You know what? It is our civic duty as Americans to vote. There are lots of places in this world where people do not have the right to vote. Okay, so this is a big deal. So if you voted already, I'm proud of you. Okay, if you haven't yet, get your ballot in. If you're going to do it in person, even better. I'm excited for you. Odds. I'm big on, again, me being a stats guy, I'm big on the odds right now. I'm going to cite a couple different things here. In the Real Clear Politics national poll, they've got Biden up 50.7 over Trump, 42.8. In the 538, which weighs polls differently, Biden's up 52.1 over 42.2. Among swing states, this is where it gets interesting. Biden's up on average 4.1. So that is well within the margin of error from a statistical standpoint. My kids, who are both stats maniacs, very good in statistics, thanks to Dr. Mark Howard, University of Kansas. Mark, you rock. They would say that lots of margin for error when it's only 4%. So it's going to be interesting, going to be very interesting. From an odds standpoint, these are the odds makers. Like if you're going to bet on, are the Broncos going to beat the Chiefs? Do you know that the Chiefs have beat the Broncos 9 times in a row? For you Kansas people, don't get too cocky. I know Mahomes is legit, and I actually really like him. But you know what? 9 times in a row. Can they do it 10 on Sunday? The weather's going to be crappy. Welcome to Colorado. That's all I can say. Go Broncos. Anyway, and they're saying right now it's about 60-40, which is slightly better than a coin toss, statistically speaking. Okay, so that's interesting. It's going to be good. The thing I'm more focused on is how quickly we know the results, which you've heard me talk about that before. If you go back to Bush Gore, which was the last contested election, whenever an election is contested, and I mentioned this on some of my past shows, the markets really don't like that, or risk assets, which are stocks, do not like that. So I think it probably is not a bad thing to exercise some caution, not freak out and run and hide. We're going to talk about the main question that I've been feeling here as of lately. But you know what? You need to be thoughtful of risk, something I talk about a lot. And it's during times like this when I think things really kind of set in and help us really reevaluate or evaluate our current holdings. And that's never a bad thing, regardless of motive or the reasoning behind that. Okay, moving on. Number one question I have gotten this week, and I am going to act out. I never took an acting class in my life. I know that's probably a shocker to many of you, but I'm going to act out via the theater my conversations this week. Ring, ring. Hello? John Doe, what's up? Oh, if Biden wins, you think that all HELL is going to break loose? Really? Okay. That's one call. Ring, ring. Hey, Jane Doe, what? Oh, you think if Trump's winning, you're going to die and you're going to leave the country. I would not do that. Don't leave this country. Lots of people have threatened that. Many of them, I wish they would have left the country, but they didn't. That's a totally different story. I digress. Jane Doe, chill, baby, baby, chill. Okay, here's the deal, people. All right. I've been getting this question a lot. People from either side of the aisle, and I don't care what side you're on, there are some of you that you all think the sky's falling if the person you don't want to win wins. I just want to add some context to that here. Okay, I know that uncertainty is very high, and I respect that. I really do. But you know what? It's hard to predict what's going to happen. My canned answer has been, I think that there is a greater risk by reallocating your portfolio and going to cash or going uber conservative than not doing anything and seeing what happens in the markets as a result of the elections. Okay, that's just kind of the way I feel. Another way to look at it is, if you think about this, we had a pretty big market crash in March, April. Okay, it's about 35%. It was a doozy. While we've had many more declines since then in the past, heck, if you go back, there are even times when things have been down 70, 80, 90%. And these are stocks during the March, April crash. Oil even went negative. Again, add context here. Okay. So, the really kicker is when I look back to March, April and really try to dissect why the markets were so emotional, I think the markets really realized that the world was really not ready for a complete economic collapse or a complete economic shutdown. We had no idea what we were dealing with. Okay, President Trump, the government, right, wrong, or indifferent, you know what? They had no clue what was coming at them. They had no clue how to handle it. We did a lot of learning as we went. Okay, the government did an incredible job of backstopping it. So if you go back to the Great Depression, which there were times during March, April when people were comparing this to the Depression, the big difference is the government didn't have the bazookas loaded up where they were there to step in at all cost. During the Great Depression or the crash of 29, markets crashed and they just kept falling because there was nothing there to backstop it. We actually have the ability to do some backstopping now. Okay. So I really would be shocked if we see anything of that type of magnitude. Okay. And I'm trying to read my notes here. The Fed's printing press. In fact, what's that smell? If you're in Colorado, that is not all of our mountains burning. That's the Fed printing money, because they've printed about 5 trillion thus far, which is ridiculous, and they're thinking about printing more. We've got this little fight going on what's the next deal going to look like or not. You've got Pelosi and Mnuchin talking. You've got the Republicans floating their deal, which got blown up. It's interesting. They just all want to print money nowadays. And I really think, honestly, that kind of changes the paradigm when it comes to risk in the markets. Let's also look at this another way. Let's think worst case scenario. Say your portfolio is invested, and this is something you can do in your head. If you look at what percentage of your portfolio is in equities, let's say you have a 60-40 balanced portfolio, which is a moderately allocated portfolio. And let's just say the market crashes 50%, that would be a doozy. Would you not agree? If you looked at your stock to bond ratio 60-40, and you look at the markets being down 50%, that would mean that your portfolio is probably down plus or minus 30%, plus or minus a couple percent. Now, this would certainly be a very hard pill to swallow. The question I would ask here would be, would this derail your retirement goals significantly or require you to alter your lifestyle? Think on that. I'm being quiet. This is called, what do they call that? Unnerved silence, or some stupid thing they call it. Unease. Anyway, I'm going to be silent here and let you ponder that. So here's the question. If the answer to that was yes, you and I need to chat, okay? Because that is always a possibility. Does it happen often? It does not. But that's why I talk about risk so much. All right. So if you're answering that question is if you had a 60-40 portfolio and the market dropped 50% and your portfolio being down 30% would require you to alter how you live. If the answer to that is yes, we need to call and you need to call me immediately. Although this afternoon I'm getting ready to leave for this Friday afternoon. Text me, email me, call me Monday. And I'm dead serious. We need to chat about this because this is important. Okay. Here's the kicker. Newsflash. We're already in a recession. We're probably coming out of recession. We had been in a recession. It was the shortest one. Okay. And is there a remote chance we could experience another type of correction? Always. And again, I don't want to downplay that. That is always a possibility. We never know what the catalyst is. That is the kicker. Whenever I always get nervous when everyone starts thinking one thing because that rarely happens. All right? It rarely does. That's herd mentality and it just doesn't happen. So I would really caution you of getting all nervous because everybody thinks the market is going to crash regardless of who wins. That usually tells me it's probably not. But is it a possibility? It is. All right. Here's another deal. And I was going to go off on another tangent here, but for the sake of time, I am not. Here's the irony. I kind of feel like if you've ever driven across the state of Kansas in the summer during thunderstorm season or in the winter on I-70 or I-80 when there's a snowstorm that is coming. The thing you don't know is you're anticipating this storm, but you honestly do not know if it's going to hit, the severity of the storm, where it's going to hit, when and how, and to what extent. That's kind of how I feel right now. The kicker is you just have to prepare. Okay, and how we prepare is, again, I always talk about focusing on the facts. See, there's two things that I'm going to close out here. When you think about politics, politics is what should be. If you hear all the candidates, I don't care who they are, it's when I'm elected, I'm going to do this, or we should do that. Trump getting reelected, Cory Gardner getting reelected. If I get reelected, I intend on doing this. That is politics. Investing focuses on what is. It is keeping our eye on the ball, like I talk about. It is not letting emotions be our ruler. And that is a really hard thing. But I'm going to encourage you all. The kicker is this. Good, solid asset allocation. Think about your allocation. Think about the question I asked you. Because if the answer to that is yes, we need to have a chat. All right? And don't make it any emotional. You can't call me up being the whirling dervish going crazy because I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to tell you to hang up and take a deep breath and call me back. All right? We have to make good, sound decisions, and that is the focus. Okay? So, no guessing, no emotional decision makings. So, to close things out here today, this is Craig Modelmog. So I didn't throw my stuff. I didn't even cuss today. Tanya, you should be proud of me. You know, I didn't even think about it today. That's impressive. Anyway, I appreciate you guys tuning in every week. I appreciate you listening to me. I hope it's helpful. I hope it provides some good details that help you either take a deep breath and go, you know what, I feel good about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. If it ever prompts you to not think that way, we really do need to have a discussion, and that's why I'm doing this. It's a good communication tool, gets people thinking, all right? It gets people thinking about the facts, setting our emotions on the table, and focusing on the facts. For Friday, October 23rd, this is Craig Modelmog for this week's episode of Wall Street X's and O's. Have a fantastic weekend. It's supposed to snow on Sunday here in Colorado. You guys enjoy it. I love you all, and thank you again, and I am